Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be completely unscripted. It's just going to be me talking to the camera about something that has affected me essentially my whole life. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about my battle and my time on this earth having eczema and sensitive skin. So I think from this video I'm just hoping that there'll be more people talking about eczema because it's something that is so common, and yet I actually don't find a lot of people openly talking about it. If you bring it up in conversation, then it does get talked about, but I think online as well there are so many different kind of recommendations, and I think I just wanted to share my story as such. When I was a baby I had really bad eczema, to the point where I would scratch myself red raw and I would bleed. I would get given like little scratch mitts that you can get like in like mother care, and you just kind of pop on the baby's like hand, and it's essentially just like one massive kind of mitt thing, and it just stops them kind of scratching, and if they do scratch it doesn't actually do as much damage as your actual nails. I wouldn't necessarily say that my family is prone to allergies. My mum has things like hay fever, but it's actually quite mild now. My dad has actually developed eczema later in life, which is really interesting. But yeah, I've always suffered from it. It's always been a thing that I've had. We just kind of got on with it, and we found that some creams just didn't work for me. I'm allergic to E45. I don't know if I'm still am now, I've just never tried it since. I was allergic to the preservatives in it, and a lot of people are. And we tried lots of different things, and we ended up being sent a sample of Aveeno. I really should get, I don't know, should I get the product? I don't really know. I'll just put a little picture here of what Aveeno is. My camera battery is flashing at me, so I don't really want to go and get it and waste it. So yeah, I'll put a little picture here of what Aveeno is. And it's essentially, it's an oat-based product, and it did wonders for my eczema, and I still buy it today. I am an advocate for Aveeno. It's not sponsored, but if anyone wants to sponsor me, that'd be great, because I use Aveeno all the time. It's always by my bed, and it has consistently been the best thing for my eczema. I predominantly get eczema normally on parts of my body like my elbows and behind my knees, which is normally quite a lot of people get it there. I can randomly get it sometimes if I have reacted to a product like a fabric conditioner, and so I'll normally get it like on the sock line, or I'll get it like where my underwear has been, and I was doing fine with it. It didn't really affect me until it appeared on my face. I have had various bouts of dermatitis on my face. I think the first ever one was a contact one, which I think was about here on my nose, and I got given like some hydrocortisone cream, which is like a very light steroid, and it cleared it and it went away, and I didn't really think anything more of it. And then I started to get some here, and they came off these like tiny little like spots, but they were hard, so they just kind of started to accumulate around this area, and I started going to the doctors like I had done before, and I was starting giving like hydrocortisone and then steroid creams, and it got to the point where the steroid creams actually make it worse. It would make them red raw and just so painful and itchy. I'll post any photos if I've got any. I don't think I've got any of the kind of previous, like the early stuff that I had, but I've got some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And so I started getting it around here, and it went on for about 1.5 years of me being misdiagnosed again and again and again, and it got to the point where it was affecting me and my confidence. The kids at work would come up to me and be like, "What's that on your face?" which is not something you want to hear. And so we started doing some research on the internet, and we looked really deep into the world of eczema and dermatitis, and we found in America there had been a kind of study around perioral dermatitis. Perioral dermatitis is basically when you get a rash around the nose and the mouth, and it affects those areas predominantly. Now this, we found out, was caused by the oil in my skin, and my skin didn't like the oil in my skin and therefore reacted to it. And it was just a really bizarre thing that kind of came about. I'm not really prone to spots or anything, so when something comes on my face, I know it's something to do with dermatitis or eczema. The only way that they were treating it in the US was antibiotics, and so I went to my doctor and I just said, I need some antibiotics please to get this thing off my face. And it went away in 2 weeks. So all of the money that I'd paid on these steroid creams that had essentially made it worse, I could have just had some antibiotics. So yeah, that was that. It has never come back. I would use an like an antibacterial hand wash. I would use that actually on the area and it actually brought it down a little bit. It's not really advised because it can dry out the skin even more, but it really helped fight the yeast and the oil infecting my skin, essentially. Tea break going on. And so I was getting into the YouTube stuff and the beauty stuff, and I was looking at recommendations that YouTubers had said, and one particularly lovely YouTuber who, no fault of her own because this has nothing to do with that, suggested a waterproof eye makeup remover. And it was a brand that was supposed to be good for sensitive skin. And so I went out and bought said product, as one does, and I started using it. And this was the time that I was wearing waterproof eyeliner, and so I was taking it off with waterproof eye makeup remover. And I was using it consistently, and I started to get eczema around my eyes, around here. And I was so confused. I'd never had it around my eyes before. I was cutting back on everything and it just wasn't going away. And again, it really affected me because it's an area that you want to cover up, but you can't. And so I was actually on a film set one day and the makeup girl said, I will take it off with Bioderma. And this was when I first introduced to Bioderma. If you are prone to eczema sensitive skin, for me, the Bioderma SensiBio Micellar solution cleared up my eczema. So she used this solution on my eyes, and I'd heard of it before and I wanted to try it. She used it on my eyes and it went away in a week after her using it. And I was filming for like 3 or 4 days and it just disappeared, and I was like, this is the most, how did this happen, you know? So I then went out and bought this micellar water and I've been using it ever since on my eyes. I will say that actually I've tried other ranges from Bioderma with the micellar water, and that has done a flare up. It's really strange. So something in the SensiBio micellar water is doing, like, loves my skin, so I can't complain. So then that cleared it up, and then didn't have it for about a year, and then after a year I must have used a product around my eyes that my skin didn't like, and it started to come back. And so for about the last 1.5 to 2 years I have been constantly back and forth with eczema around my eyes. It is such a pain as an actress having to deal with something like this, because your face is part of what you're selling, you're a part of your craft, and you know, suddenly you're having to cover up massive flare-ups around your eyes. It got to one point I had one flare-up that was so bad that I physically couldn't open my eyes properly in the morning when I woke up, because my eyelids were so puffy, and so I could only open them about halfway, and it sucks really, and it affects different areas. I can never tell where it's going to affect it. I can never tell what is going to affect it, which is the thing that is the most frustrating. Sometimes it can affect kind of around this area, sometimes it can be on my eyelids, like at the top, sometimes it can be around the lash line. I just never know. So you may be saying, well, why didn't you go to the doctor again? After the perioral dermatitis here, it kind of knocked my trust in doctors from misdiagnosing me for 1.5 years and putting me in extreme pain and discomfort. It was probably no fault of their own, because it was something they hadn't heard of, essentially, when I came to them and said, this is what I think it is. But this time, quite recently, I think in the last month, I actually went to the doctor and I said, I have been fighting this for like 1.5 years, 2 years. I've been doing everything. I would cut everything out, and then it would go away. I've also been taking antihistamines. I don't want to be taking them for the rest of my life, but I have to take them essentially when I get a flare up. They're inexpensive, so it's okay, but I don't want to be popping pills for the rest of my life, and I think that's the most frustrating thing. So I explained to the doctor that I had tried cutting out everything. I couldn't tell, didn't think it was food. I could never tell when it was going to happen. And she essentially turned around to me and said, well, if you don't know what is causing it, then I have no more knowledge of what it could be. Which was hard to hear, I guess, because you kind of go to the doctor and you're like, fix me please. It just kind of sucks that that's the case. She essentially said that you just have to treat it and then try and prevent it. And obviously, as part of me doing YouTube and blogging, I'm trying lots of different products, so I'm now just going to have to patch test things, which I probably should have done in the first place, but I've never had problems like this with my skin. She has also suggested like allergy eye drops, which I'm looking into, but she doesn't think it's something that I'm eating, because if it was something that I'm constantly eating, then I would be getting it all the time. It wouldn't be going down. Like, I had a period where I had like 3 or 4 months and I didn't have anything, and then now I do. I will put a photo of what it looked like when it was the most recent one, which is the one I'm still recovering from. So it has affected this area around, this one's not so bad, but this one is quite bad. And then now over the last couple of days, my eyelids, should I zoom you in? Let's zoom you in a little bit. So you can actually see I've got concealer on today because I want to cover it up. But this area around here is affected. And then my eyelids, it almost looks like I've got like eyeshadow on, but I don't. Which is hilarious. That's where I'm at the moment. And then I started randomly getting something called folliculitis on my forehead. And a folliculitis is essentially, funnily enough, it's where the yeast in your skin reacts and clogs up the pores. So I've obviously got a thing on my face where my face just doesn't like what my skin produces. So it was clogging up my pores, and it was creating like loads of like red tiny bumps that weren't spots, because I started treating it like spots. I've never had spots, like really bad acne or anything in my life. And so this was really strange. And I was looking up loads of things. I started like consistently double cleansing, which I probably should have done anyway, but you know. I started to think about things with like, I think it's called salicylic acid, I don't know. Products that have that in there, because that's supposed to treat things like acne. And then I found on YouTube, the wonderful world of YouTube, that it could be something called folliculitis. And so I picked up some Nizoral, which is essentially a shampoo, and I started using that on my forehead. And I need to zoom you in again now, because you can see the update. Here's my lovely forehead. The folliculitis affects the texture of the skin, so when you put foundation on it looks worse. This is me about a week in, and I'm really happy. There's like a little bit there that's kind of formed into I don't know if it's still a spot, it's just kind of crusted up. But yeah, I'm just so happy with how it's going. But no one really was, you know, saying this is definitely folliculitis. I will link a couple of videos below that I used, which helped me. And I'll also put any of the products down below that I've talked about. So that's where I'm at the moment with my skin. But, you know, life with sensitive skin sucks. Because you just don't know when something's going to happen. But that was me talking about my sensitive skin. Hello guys, this is future Georgie, just dropping in to give you a little update on the face. I'm not wearing any makeup. As you can see, eczema is pretty much gone, and so has my folliculitis. So obviously in the video that I filmed, it was like a couple of weeks ago. It was before I even had the steroid cream, and I was just getting back on the Nizoral. And so I just wanted to add this in because obviously at the time I was quite frustrated that nothing was really working and I didn't have anything to help me, because essentially I phoned up the doctor and I said, look, I need this steroid cream. They prescribed it for me and I picked it up last week, and it vanished pretty much within about 3 or 4 days, and I think I'm pretty much on my last kind of day of it. I think I'm going to use it for today and then maybe stop tomorrow. So this is what they gave me. It is essentially just a light hydrocortisone. I'm really happy with how it's gone. And then Nizoral, this I did insert a photo, but this is what I'm using. I have a little update. I have actually ended up with some bit on my chest, so I'm treating that as we speak.
But yeah, I just wanted to add a little lighter note in that I did sort this out somewhat. So yeah, and now I'm going to go back to past Georgie. See ya.
The one thing I want to say from this is, I mean, if you want to join the party here and subscribe, then great. But I think the one thing I want to take away from this is please share your stories below, because this is something that has affected me my whole life and has affected my confidence. So I would love to get a conversation going, sharing your stories, any tips and stuff, like I've suggested some of the products that have helped me, and just kind of get the conversation going about eczema and sensitive skin, because it needs to be talked about more. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It was very chatty and very not planned, but I just wanted to do it since having this flare up. And as you can tell, I keep looking at the viewfinder because I keep trying to see whether it's really obvious. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and do comment down below any of your experiences. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye!